cerebral palsy, a condition that many people are not too familiar with, a condition that is a form of paralysis believed to be caused by a brain defect or brain injury during birth, which causes difficulty of voluntary muscles, a condition a young man named John Hinton has had to deal with his whole life.
Well, hi, my name is Jonathan James Hinton, and I have what's called cerebral palsy.
What I remember the most is that when Jonathan was born, he had a smile on his face, and he's never lost his smile. I first learned that Jonathan had issues when before he came home from the hospital. He was approximately 3 months premature, and we knew before he came home that he was going to have some neuromuscular problems. As he got older and we realized it was a lot more involved, you just take it in stride and keep a good attitude and keep going forward and do what you can do.
Well, the first barrier, when he was born, and we were told that you guys are going to have to learn, I was too young at the time, but what I had heard from, afterwards, you're going to have to learn sign language with John. You're going to have to find ways to communicate, because chances are he'll be mentally retarded and he won't have any way to communicate. And that's when he was born. Well, he defied those odds.
And often what I find is a young man that just wants to proclaim the living water, Jesus Christ. So this morning we've asked Jonathan and the man.
Hi. Everybody, what's up? I'd like to thank you for giving me an opportunity to sing today. You guys are all so cool. Okay.
Well, I met John when I think he was either 7th, 8th grade in 2001 when he and his family began attending Bridge to Life. That time we were First Assembly, but that's when we got to know John.
There's been surgeries, like my one in 2002. That was massive. I didn't know how I was gonna get through that, and there was physically my biggest barrier is learning how to do things like everybody else, because I don't know how to. I have to learn how to do things like everybody else, so that's one of the biggest barriers.
He had a surgery in 2002 to reduce his bones, because with this condition, your bones grow faster than your muscles, and you end up, getting really tight because your muscle can't stretch over the bone. And so, when he had his surgery, we were told, he's probably not going to be able to really stand on his own for very long, and there's a lot of limitations that he's going to have. We're just simply doing this to improve his quality of life. Well, he defied those odds too. We started working with him with stretching, range of motion, and and this was back in 2002, he was able to do quite a bit even for the time. Then he had these pins in his leg that he had removed in 2004, yet another surgery. And he was able, what the doctor told us was, our goal is to be able to stand, pivot, and transfer. That's our ultimate goal here. And I said, well, isn't the ultimate goal for him to be able to walk on his own? And he says, well, I don't want to give you unrealistic expectations, and that's really kind of a disappointing thing. John wouldn't hear it. That just went in one ear and out the other.
I met John 10 years ago through his brother. I went to high school with his brother Jeremiah, and we'd hang out and go back to his house, and John was there. He'd usually be sitting in his wheelchair watching TV or doing something. We'd talk every now and then.
Well, my acquaintance with Jonathan came about 7 years ago. I received a call from the high school, and sure enough, it was the principal who was calling to ask me how would you like to be the hands of a young man? And I said, excuse me, I'm not following you, Dr. Compton. And she said, Mrs. Cruz, why don't you come to the school and meet someone? So I kept my appointment and I went because I was curious, since I had already given up teaching Spanish at another school, and really I needed something to keep me busy. So I went to the school, and who was there but Jonathan? And it was love at first sight. I couldn't help but I just loved him the minute I saw him. And we've been friends ever since. And we've been through thin and thick, haven't we?
Yeah.
And but a lot of fun we've had.
When I got to go to high school, that was really, really fun. And dealing with all the high school things, I loved it.
He shared with me one day, you know, Mrs. Cruz, I've never been to a dance. And I says, really, Jonathan? And he says, never have. So that's all I needed to hear, and immediately I knew there was was it the homecoming dance? Yes. I think it was the homecoming. Was it, Jonathan?
Yeah.
And what happened? Can you want to share what happened?
Well, they picked me up in the bus that night and we went to the dance. It was pretty cool.
I made arrangements with the school as far as transportation, and they gave me permission for my husband, who's a bus driver, to pick up Jonathan at the house and take him to the dance, and oh boy, was he looking sharp. So what happened when we got to the dance?
Well, as I recall, they got me out there on the floor.
They sure did, huh? We took the wheelchair out to the floor, and the girls were coming around, and they would pivot the wheelchair, and Jonathan was dancing all night long.
Well, it started back in 2005. We got acquainted with Diane, and then with Jonathan, and the friendship kind of began to grow, and so they invited us up to do some Bible studies with them in their home. And so we came up and we studied, I don't remember how long it was, 1, 2, 3 years, whatever, but that's how we got acquainted with them.
Jonathan, I met him 3 years ago, and we were, the first time I really got to know him is we were filming a movie where we needed Jonathan in the movie, and I just really got to know him then. It was really neat because he was really excited about it. He really likes TV and movies and stuff.
Me getting to walk, graduate, and all that stuff, that was a huge milestone.
One thing he said is that he's not any different than anybody else.
Well, you know, I don't think John sees himself really having that many challenges. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, obviously he does, but he doesn't focus on his challenges as much as he focuses on encouraging other people through theirs.
The obstacles he has to go through, they're greater. And sometimes I feel bad telling him my problems.
I tried to teach him that everyone is born for a purpose, and that he could do anything, and that a wheelchair and a disability does not have to limit anyone, because where the head goes, the feet follow. And that's what I did teach them.
But I guess what I would want more than anything is to be able to touch people and make them happy.
He is always out to breathe life into you. He's out to encourage people, and that's the thing I'm most proud of about John, is that he doesn't focus on himself. He focuses on other people and encouraging them and doing his part to make other people's lives joyful.
How does John inspire me? The way he inspires me, first of all, he's so positive. That's one thing that, you know, I and a lot of people notice about him.
You know, he just has such a good outlook on life.
I want to be like John because he loves everyone unconditionally.
Well, one thing that I think a lot of people say is they didn't realize how excellent he is in dealing with personal and religious issues.
I tell you what, anybody who thinks that they've really got a tough road to hoe, they just really need to meet John.
He's gonna change the world someday. I think he's gonna touch many lives.
And I hope I can use my influence to make people happy. My grandma has made a big impact in my life. I do stories with my grandma. My stories help me. They help me get into the world, because sometimes fantasy I think is my drug of choice. I get into fantasy to help me escape it. Somehow I've always told stories to Grandma. It's kind of a special thing we do. I like to be an online pastor, like what you see on TV or see on a Christian network. I'd like to do that.
John, he really has a goal set in his life. He's really interested in doing what God has called him to do. And he's really open about talking about that. But one thing he did tell me is he wanted to be able to minister to people like himself. He wanted to be able to minister to people with disabilities.
I'm taking a correspondence course right now through Global University, and it's slow and steady, but it's going. Hopefully I'll be done within 2 years with Dad. And hopefully I'll just go on to see what the next thing God has for me.
I hope that John gets an opportunity to get before audiences and talk to them, you know, about Jesus. I meet with John every Tuesday morning for a little over an hour, and we will at times talk about what he's studying in his correspondence schooling with his mother. He's enrolled in Berean School of the Bible out of Springfield, Missouri, and I went through the same exact school, so we have that in common. We'll talk about the things that he's learning. Then I will ask him questions, what I call application questions. So how are you going to put this knowledge to work in a church situation? And so that's basically what we do every week, as well as praying together and just kind of sharing encouragement. And of course, we've built a friendship as a result of that as well.
Jonathan is very well versed in Scripture. When he studies, he really studies. He doesn't just try to get through it as much as he can. He really is deep thought into it. And I could talk to Jonathan about one Scripture verse for 30 minutes because he just has so many questions that deal with what God has for him.
We take it for granted because it's so, automatic for us.
Some of the things that we do that are simple, like just stretching out our arm, reaching out for that cup of tea on the counter, kicking a soccer ball. Like, it's easy for us, but for him it's very, very difficult.
Walking will be my #1 goal.
It's just challenging.
I'm a physical therapist assistant. John comes into our clinic for outpatient physical therapy 2 to 3 times a week. I've been seeing John for on and off for almost 2 years.
I've gone through several different therapists, and they help me get further along.
We started working with him late spring of 2011.
We work on walking, we work on lifting of the legs, and we work on sitting balance, and we work on the sit to stands, and I have a walker that I walk with up and down the hallway and at therapy.
When John first came in, he was not walking. He was in his wheelchair. His standing balance and sitting balance was very minimal, a few seconds before he would lose his balance.
But what I really noticed is when we first started this therapy a couple years ago, there was a lot of things that he really wasn't able to do, and for a long time he wasn't making a lot of improvements. But after a year or so, he started making big jumps on his improvement with his physical ability.
In therapy, he can't really walk on his own. So we have this walker, or he has a walker rather, and we just stand him up, strap him in, and try to teach him how to walk, try to get his muscles to cooperate.
And we continued to work with him, and over the years past, he's been able to do more and more.
Throughout the few years that he's been here, we've gone from him needing max assist, meaning total assistance from a therapist, to now sometimes minimal assistance on certain activities. He is standing and transferring with minimal assistance. In the gait trainer, he can walk independently. It keeps him upright in a position, and then he just uses his legs. Sometimes he needs some verbal cueing, tactile cueing. He is able to roll independently for the most part. He does Need a lot of verbal cues to stay on task though.
Since he started, he has been able to walk, and he has been able to walk all the way down the street to the end of the street and back, which was a huge journey. We had people applauding and cars going by, and just really cool. I mean, just people driving down the street were like, wow! And a huge change for him to be able to do that, because he had not been ambulatory and didn't even, I don't think he realized that he could even do that. So, and now he has a walker that he walks with. He can pretty much do that with just somebody standing by, so he is doing wonderful, made big gains.
Amazing to see John walk for the first time.
And I know he's gonna walk someday. I have a feeling in my gut.
He swears by it that he will one day walk, and by the look in his eye and how far I've seen him come, I believe it. I believe it. I know it in my heart. He will one day walk.
He can do it. I mean, he can move forward and accomplish whatever he thinks he can. Just keep pushing.
And there's nothing that he can't do.
That kid's got the eye of the tiger. He tries hard.
I always believe in the power of your dreams and stuff.
Because someday he's going to go hiking with me.
That's one of the things that I went into this field for, big, huge goals like that being accomplished, and be able to see people that didn't think they could accomplish something, be able to do that. So it's very exciting. It's great.
We have thoroughly enjoyed this boy, and he'll always be a kind of our
He's
adopted
like
son.
a son to us.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I have it no other way.
I am just excited and hopeful about John's future, because doors are opening up for him now. I'm just excited that he's going to accomplish what he wants to accomplish.
Because if you shoot for the moon and the stars, and you believe in God, and you believe in yourself, you can make anything happen.